Welcome to First Time Watching. When we talk about the perfect plot twist in a movie, Oldboy is usually one of the first titles that comes up, but there's a lot more that went on behind the scenes. So keep watching, and throughout the 20 facts, you'll find out whether lead actor Choi min-sik really ate a live octopus and which major films took inspiration from Oldboy. But before we dive into the facts, here's a quick movie recap to refresh our memories on what Oldboy is all about. Dae-soo is a drunk, loudmouthed piece of shit who gets kidnapped out of nowhere. He wakes up in a crappy, locked hotel room. No windows, no explanation, just a TV and 4 walls that become his whole world for the next 15 years. So with no idea who did it or why, he watches the world change through tailored news reports made just for him. His only contact with the outside world is through that TV where he learns that his wife has been murdered, his daughter has been sent to foster parents, and he is the prime suspect. His captors took blood and other items from him and presumably left enough evidence at the crime scene to frame him for it. So, what does he do? He trains. He shadowboxes like a madman, getting ready to kick some serious ass. And just when he's about to lose his mind, he's released. Now, as a free man, Dae-soo is handed a wallet and a phone by some random hobo and decides what he is going to do with his freedom. Find out why someone kept him in that hotel room. He meets Mido, a young sushi chef who helps him piece things together. All while, Dae-soo is getting cryptic calls from a mysterious man who says, "Find out why I locked you up, and I'll kill myself." So after a while, and killing an entire gang with a hammer and kicking ass throughout the city, he finally confronts his captor, a rich, cold man named Woo Jin. Why did he do it? Revenge. Turns out, back in high school, Dae-soo accidentally saw Woo Jin and his sister getting freaky, sucking face and playing disappearing salami. Dae-soo told the whole school about it, and Woo Jin's sister ended up taking her own life. So what does Woo Jin do in return? He locks Dae-soo up for 15 years, hypnotizes him and his daughter, and sets them up to fall in love. Yup, plot twist. That sushi girl didn't just smell fishy. He's been banging the shit out of her the entire movie, and now he finds out it's his own sweet little girl. Realizing the horror of it all, Dae-soo cuts out his own tongue in a desperate plea for mercy. But Woo Jin doesn't give a shit. He walks away and takes his own life. In the end, Dae-soo uses hypnosis to try and erase the memory of what happened. The final shot shows him and his little fish lady embracing in the snow, unsure of whether he remembers the truth, but clearly haunted by it. And now that we've refreshed our memory, it's time for some facts. Dae-soo eats a live octopus in one of the film's most infamous moments. And yes, it's for real. The scene required 4 separate takes, meaning he consumed 4 live octopuses on camera. Before each take, Dae-soo, who in real life is a Buddhist vegetarian, reportedly prayed in apology to the octopuses. Director Park Chan-wook considered this moment crucial, symbolizing Dae-soo rediscovering life after 15 years confined. That brutal hammer fight was shot in a single, uninterrupted take. It took place across 3 days and over 17 practice takes. The imperfections, realistic hesitation, mistimed movements were intentional, making it raw and authentic. This scene was the influence for the famous Daredevil corridor scene, and James Gunn told the media that Oldboy inspired him for the fight scenes in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Park and cinematographer Chung Chung-hoon used a bleach bypass effect on the film's negatives to create a high-contrast, grainy look. The result is a muted, almost sick visual palette that matches the film's dark tone. In the 20th anniversary restoration, Park preserved that look to stay true to the original feel. To show a stark, seasonal shift, the last scene was filmed on the snow-covered landscapes of New Zealand. South Korea offered no snow at the time, so Park decided on a dramatic visual transition. This montage was meant to signal passage of time ending on a haunting, unresolved note. Upon arrival in New Zealand, the crew discovered their luggage, including cameras and costumes, had been lost. They had to borrow film gear and recreate costumes locally on very short notice. Despite the chaos, Park embraced the situation and turned it into a festival-ready ending. Unlike most action scenes that rely heavily on music to boost intensity, Oldboy's iconic hallway hammer fight is almost completely silent except for some grunting, thuds, and breathing. Park made a deliberate choice to strip away the score to make the violence feel exhausting and almost claustrophobic. Every blow lands with sickening weight, and the fight itself is messy and unchoreographed. It feels more like a struggle than a spectacle. This rawness became a signature feature of the scene and influenced many directors who wanted to depict honest violence rather than glorified action. It's not just a fight, it's survival, and the silence makes us feel every second of it. The hallucination where ants crawl into Dae-soo's arm was achieved using CGI, not real bugs. Even the arm itself is digitally replaced in shots where it twitches unnaturally. Only when the ants fall off does the real actor's hand enter the frame, merging effects and performance seamlessly. While many scenes in Oldboy were shot on stylized sets or hidden interiors, the luxurious penthouse belonging to the antagonist, Lee Woo-jin, was actually filmed in a real private residence in Seoul. The production team searched extensively for a location that felt both extravagant and isolating, something that mirrored Woo-jin's wealth and emotional emptiness. The massive glass walls, minimalist design, and cold lighting weren't artificially enhanced. They reflect real architectural choices of the location. The real-world space helped elevate the final confrontation between Dae-soo and Woo-jin, turning it into a sterile battlefield of secrets and grief. It's one of those rare cases where reality was already cinematic enough, no green screens needed. Producer Sid Lim read the original Japanese manga series written by Garen Tsuchiya and immediately flew to Japan to secure the rights to make a movie out of it. He ensured the writer a faithful, within bounds of course, adaptation. This quick action allowed the project to move forward before competitors could capitalize on Tsuchiya's genius piece of fiction. In early drafts, the film's hypnotism thread was smaller or entirely absent, but Park Chan-wook and co-writer Hwang Jo-yeon expanded it after realizing it could justify the character's extreme emotional decisions. The idea that both Dae-soo and his sushi girl were manipulated by post-hypnotic suggestion allows the audience to accept what might otherwise feel implausible, like their rapid emotional bonding. It also adds a layer of moral ambiguity. Was it really love, or just a planted illusion? Park uses hypnotism not as a gimmick, but as a thematic device, asking us whether we're ever truly in control of our choices. In the end, even reality feels like a suggestion. One of the most gut-wrenching scenes in Oldboy is when Dae-soo extracts a man's teeth with the claw of a hammer. While most viewers assume it's all movie magic, the production used a mix of prosthetics, makeup, and clever camera angles to make it disturbingly realistic. Special effects artists created rubber dental molds that could flex and pop when pulled, paired with precise sound design that made every yank echo in your spine. Dae-soo's intense facial performance sells it completely. He grits and growls like he's really doing it. The scene was so effective that even Park Chan-wook had to blink twice during screenings. Audiences would audibly groan or look away, a badge of honor for any revenge film. Park intentionally named his character Dae-soo to echo Oedipus, hinting at the incest theme. In the tale of Oedipus, he pokes out his own eyes for his sins. So the question remains, what body part did Dae-soo lick that was worth cutting off his own tongue? The scene where Dae-soo hallucinates a giant ant crawling out of his skin might seem surreal, but it's actually rooted in real psychological phenomena reported by long-term prisoners. Park Chan-wook learned that some isolated inmates develop visual or tactile hallucinations involving insects or vermin, a symbol of loneliness, anxiety, and sensory deprivation. In Korean symbolism, ants also represent collective community and being part of a system, which Dae-soo was violently cut off from for 15 years. The giant ant crawling out of his arm becomes a disturbing visual metaphor for his mental state, lonely, crawling back into a world that moved on without him. Park turned prison psychosis into pure cinema. Exhaustion got to our main character during the penthouse scenes. Dae-soo dozed off between takes while still in character. It shows how intense the shoot was, with emotional and physical exhaustion pushing the performance to its limits. The film uses a haunting snippet from Vivaldi's Winter from 4 Seasons during the torture sequences. This Baroque classical touch contrasts strikingly with the violence on screen. Its calm melody meets brutal imagery, a cruel symphony. By creating emotional depth in Dae-soo, Park realized that the love interest felt underdeveloped. This realization led to stronger female roles in his later films like The Handmaiden and Decision to Leave. Oldboy began his journey toward more complex portrayals of women. Yo Ji-tae, who played antagonist Lee Woo-jin, wore actual Armani suits and high-end watches throughout the film. This was a deliberate choice by the costume department to visually emphasize the wealth and control Woo-jin had over Dae-soo. His composed, elegant appearance stands in stark contrast to Dae-soo's disheveled, chaotic look. Park Chan-wook used the subtle class divide to underline the power imbalance, not just physical, but also psychological and societal. Every costume choice reinforced the core themes of status, manipulation, and revenge. After the success of Joint Security Area, Park was offered multiple Hollywood studio deals, but he turned them down to maintain full creative freedom on Oldboy. He feared American producers might water down the film's themes or cut controversial content, especially the incest, twist, and violence. By keeping the project entirely Korean, Park was able to tell the story exactly as he envisioned it without compromising his bold, subversive vision. Ironically, Hollywood would later remake the film anyway in 2013 to far less success. It was exactly what Park feared, a watered-down version. The original Korean title, Oldboy, is a direct transliteration of Oldboy, a term that in Korea refers to alumni from elite schools or someone who clings to outdated traditions. But in the movie, it's also a pun. It reflects Dae-soo becoming an old boy during his 15-year imprisonment, emotionally stunted and robbed of his youth. This double meaning adds a layer of irony and cultural specificity that's often lost in translation. Dae-soo is both a literal and metaphorical old boy, a man-child forged in a prison of memory and guilt. Editor Kim Sang-bum intentionally cut Oldboy to reflect a fractured, non-linear mental state. Rapid transitions, disorienting match cuts, and hallucinations simulate the disconnection Dae-soo feels from time and reality after his captivity. Scenes often blur fantasy with flashback, memory with hallucination, making the audience question what's real right alongside Dae-soo. This wasn't just stylized editing, it was psychological storytelling, showing trauma from the inside out. It's part of why the film remains so deeply unsettling and immersive. And there you have it, 20 facts from behind the scenes of one of the greatest revenge flicks in the business. If you learned something new, go ahead and hit that like button. Got a favorite fact or moment I missed in the video? Drop it in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the weird and wildly unsettling corners of cinema.